Good evening, good evening. Happy Friday night. I know most people probably won't be here because it is Friday night, but I missed yesterday, so I wanted to get on here and continue our series here. So, episode 5, practical boundaries, what they look like, and how to apply them. I know we talked about different types of boundaries, different things, but I wanted to just give you an idea of real practical examples of how boundaries look in your everyday life. Very important that that we do that. So, friends, tonight we're just diving into boundaries, not just the idea of them, of having them, but real practical examples of how they look in our everyday life. If you've ever wondered, how do I even set a boundary? Then this one's for you. And everyone determines their boundaries different. So maybe one person has something that they need to put a boundary for, but maybe your neighbor doesn't have that issue. So everyone's type of boundaries or boundaries in general are going to be different. So just because you have a thing where you don't look at your phone after 9 p.m. Doesn't mean your spouse has that same boundary, because maybe he or she doesn't have that issue. Maybe they don't pick up their phone. Maybe when they get home, they put their phone down, kitchen counter, dresser, wherever, and they don't pick it back up until they leave the house. So just because you have that boundary doesn't mean someone else is expected to have that same boundary. So that's very important to know, because we all struggle with different things. Why boundaries matter? Boundaries are not walls, they're doors. You decide what comes in and what stays out. So kind of like your front door, when you close it, things or people stay out, right? When you open it, you allow them to come in. So that's how your boundaries are. They're doors. They're not block walls. But they do protect your time, energy, and peace. Very important. Having boundaries, you will learn, protect your time, energy, and peace. This is just some examples of boundaries that people may have. And again, everyone's boundaries look different. We can take a whole room full of people and ask, tell them to tell us what their boundaries are, list several boundaries they have, and that whole room full of people, they're all going to be different. So time boundaries. An example is not answering work emails after 7 p.m. We've talked about work emails several times, right? So how you set that boundary is you decide a cutoff time and communicate it. So if you do still check work emails once you get home, if you work outside the home, if you do still check work emails, it's fine, but you're going to put a boundary. So you're going to say, at this time, I'm no longer going to check work emails. Or it's going to be when I leave the office, I'm no longer going to check my emails till I get back into the office. So the application is you decide a cutoff time. So it may not be when you leave the office, but it may be the 7 p.m. or it may be, by the time I get home, I'm no longer going to check it. So you decide a cutoff time, and then you communicate it. So you communicate it with your peers, anyone who may think you're going to respond to an email, anyone that you report to, or anyone that reports to you. Very important for them to know that if it's past 7 o'clock, if that's the time you set, and you send me an email, I will not be responding until the next day. Or if your cutoff time is when you leave for the day, so if we're going to say you work a 9 to 5, and when you leave at 5 p.m., you're no longer going to respond to emails until the following day when you get back into the building, right? So you communicate that, like I said, to people who your peers, people you report to, and who the person you report to, person or peoples you report to, and that way they know that if they send you an email and you are gone for the day, that email will not be answered until the following day or the next time you're in the office. So figuring out what that time is and then establishing that time and then communicating it. So that's time boundaries. Emotional boundaries. An example is not letting someone unload on you daily if it leaves you drained. So sometimes some people can take that. You can let someone unload on you, let them tell you all their issues, problems, whatever, on a regular, and it won't affect you. So you're going to feel the same way you felt before the conversation. You're going to feel the same way afterwards. It's not going to affect you. But if having that person unload on you is draining you, is taking any energy from you, then you need to set a boundary. And the application can be, hey, Mary, I care about you, but I don't have this capacity for this conversation right now. Hey, Joseph, I care about you, but I don't have the capacity for this conversation right now. So just let them know that just because you can't have that conversation, you still care about them, you still love them, but emotionally, that's not, you can't do it. So that is, like I said, you determine that. Like I said, but if you can allow somebody to call you up, come to your house, and they're just, telling you everything, and it's not emotionally affecting you in any way, you're just all ears and you're fine, then so be it. But if it takes an ounce of your energy away, you don't have to allow it. So that's when you tell them, I don't have the capacity for this conversation right now. You set that boundary. Okay. Family boundaries. So an example would be setting visiting hours or how often you can host gatherings. An application would be like, we'd love to have you over, but Sundays are our rest day. So constantly having people come to your house, I would appreciate that they love me and want to see me, but also don't respect our days that we rest, right? So, like again, setting visiting hours or how often you can host gatherings. So sometimes, as we all know, if we've ever hosted a gathering, it's wearing. It wears on us, right? It's a lot of work. A lot of times you do all the work and nobody helps you clean. That's hard. And not only that, but you got to put forth all the money for the food and clean before the party or whatever the gathering is. And then you got to clean during, and then you got to clean afterwards too, with minimal help. So, it is very draining. So, sometimes family expects a certain individual to host every single gathering, and sometimes you just need to say, hey, I will host this gathering, I will host Thanksgiving, someone else has to host the other, or I'll host Easter, somebody else will have to host the other. So they just don't having the family members expect you to always be the host. Set that boundary. Okay. Social media boundaries. An application would be muting or unfollowing accounts that bring negativity. So if you are following somebody and it's constant negativity, constant bickering, arguing, if I see people, I'll just unfollow them. I don't waste my time with that. I'm not going to be like, well, maybe this is a one-off, or if it's something that they post a lot of controversial and on their page, it's a lot of, back and forth. Like I don't do that. So, you protect your social media feed the same way you protect your home. And I firmly believe that. So, it's okay to mute and follow those people. It doesn't mean that you hate them, you don't like them, you dislike them, anything like that. It just means that you only want the positivity in your life, right? And so I think a lot of times people take if they see that you're no longer their friend. But if you just mute somebody, you're not unfriending them. So you're still show up on their friends list. You're just not seeing their content on a daily. So muting them would be a good thing, because some people take, if you unfriend somebody, they take it like it's the end of the world. You know, it's social media. It's not real life. You know, if it was real life, you would call me on the phone and say, hey, are we not friends anymore? But it's really social media. So if you just mute them, then you just don't see their content. And it's for so many days. So that's always the best option, like I said. And it could be they're just going through something, and that's why it's abnormal for them. And that's why you see all this stuff that's settling on their page that maybe you didn't see before. So if you just mute them for a little bit, then when they come back around, if you can see if it's the same stuff, then you can maybe make a choice then, or just mute again. So muting or unfollowing accounts that bring negativity. So again, you're protecting your social media feed, and this could be on any social media platform, the same way you want to protect your home, okay? Self-care boundaries, scheduling non-negotiable time for rest, prayer, or exercise. Treat it like an appointment that you don't cancel. So there's some appointments you don't cancel, right? You go to your appointments. Hopefully doctor's appointments, you don't cancel those, right? This is very important. So do your self-care, treat that. And, you know, I told you guys the other day is even if you got to get your calendar and you got to write those things in your calendar, book yourself those appointments. So like I said, even if it's the 10 minutes of, I'm going to go in there and shave my legs. If it's the 10 minutes, or I'm going to get up 10 minutes early and read, or sit in the front porch and, you know, drink some coffee or something. But schedule your self-care for yourself. And like I said, treat it like an appointment, and don't cancel it. Very important that we do that, because then we wear ourselves out if we don't set those boundaries, right? So now number 4 is, how do you determine the right boundary? So you ask yourself a couple questions. So question number 1 is, where am I feeling the most drained? So what is draining you the most? Think about your day. Even if you got to jot down your day daily and say, okay, I was feeling good until I encountered this situation. Or sometimes me jotting down my thoughts for the day, it helps me determine what boundaries I need to set. So as you go through your day, keep a journal, keep a notepad, and just where am I feeling most drained? So it could be a location. So maybe when you go to this location, that's where it feels you drained. It could be a certain situation. It could be the carpool lane at school. It could be, but where am I feeling most drained? That's question number 1 you want to ask yourself when you're determining how to set the right boundary. Where am I saying yes, but wished I had said no? I mean, that's very, very important to think about. And a lot of times I think we automatically just say yes, again, without thinking. And I told you guys the other night that when someone asks you guys something of you, ask you to do something, you know, you never have to give them an answer immediately. And I think that's how sometimes we end up saying yes, because we feel like we have to give them an answer immediately, especially if we're face to face. We don't want that confrontation if we have to say no. So we say yes. So again, if anyone asks you to do something and you're not sure, or you don't want to say no to their face, you can always say that, hey, let me check my calendar. Let me check my situation. Let me get back to you. And then that no can always be given on the phone, where you're not face to face with that person. Just because sometimes we don't want to see them, we don't want to let them down. I mean, we discussed that before. So it's just the letdown. And if they're in front of you, they may give you those puppy dog eyes. And please, I really need your help with this, or I really could, you know, use your help, or something like that. So like I said, if they ask you to do something, you don't have to give them an answer immediately. But how to determine what the right boundary is, the question is, where am I saying yes, but wishing I had said no? So that's number 2. Number 3 is, what's one area where resentment is starting to grow? That's usually where a boundary is missing. So what's one area where resentment is starting to grow? So you think about that, and that may not be something that you think that you're able to figure out in a day. Again, as you're determining where you need to set boundaries, I would keep a journal and kind of keep these in the back of your mind and jot down. That way you know what boundary needs to be set. So it's again, where am I feeling the most drained? Where am I saying yes when I wishing I would have said no? And what's area where resentment is starting to grow? Okay. Now we're going to get ready to wrap up here. I hope this was helpful for somebody today. And again, boundaries aren't selfish. They're stewardship of life and peace God gave you. So I'm going to repeat that again. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're stewardship of life and peace God gave you. And I am going to close with a scripture. It comes from Matthew 5:37. And the scripture is, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So that's a very good one. And it's something you want to think about anytime someone asks you to do something, like I said, because we don't want to say yes when we should have said no. So let your yes be yes and your no be no. So Matthew 5:37. Tell me in the comments, replayers, anyone watching, now that we've done this, what's one area of your life that you know you need a boundary right now? Just thinking about what, even if you have to use the 3 questions that I have given you, but what's one area in your life that you know right now, right off, that you need to set a boundary for? I would like to know. And you don't got to get detailed. You can just say personal life, work life, home life, family. Like I say, I don't want to hear details. I don't need to know details. Just kind of what category, I guess, do you know you need to set a boundary for? And we all know we need to probably set multiple boundaries. But I would like to know, like I said, just if you can think of one area where you need to work on setting boundaries. I think tomorrow I'm going to go a little bit deeper as well into this same topic. So come with me tomorrow. I'm not sure what time I will be going live. Hopefully it's a little bit earlier, but it is Saturday. And I'm going to work a little bit in the morning on my notary business. So hopefully tomorrow, but like I said, I will be deep diving a little bit more into the same kind of topic. So hope to see you guys then. Hope you guys all have a happy and safe Friday night, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.